and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
All right, everybody. Welcome to Park Pals. Thank you so much for being here.
So good to have you with us. Exciting day ahead for you all.
Oh my God. We have such a moment for you today. Today we talked to our very first director, and it was just such a dream. It really, truly was. Alex Hardcastle directed Practice Date and Leslie's House, which we just talked about. And I do feel I have to preface a couple things. Number one is that I felt like a lot of my questions at the end there, like in the last 20 minutes, were very random. They were just like questions that were coming off the top of my head, but I'm really glad that he rolled with it and he seemed very open to answering them.
What's the best way for it to happen too, right? Genuinely, and like it just came out of other things he had been talking about. So I think it was perfect.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then I was making kind of a mental note of things we talked about during the episode that maybe you might not know off the top of your head. He mentions that he really is a huge fan of Blake Lee. He plays one of April's boyfriends, just FYI. The other guy is Josh Dumendek, who's also really great. But Alex worked with Blake, I believe, on a project.
Mixology.
Yes, Mixology. And they really hit it off. So that was awesome. And then we also talked about Marta a lot. And Marta is Marta Kaufman, who created Friends and was also the creator of Grace and Frankie, which Marta created it along with Kevin Bright and David Crane for Friends, but Grace and Frankie was also by Marta, so that's why we talked about her, because they've talked, obviously worked together and everything. So, and he's a fan of Friends. I was going to say a friend of fans. But anyway, so that's who Marta is. And then I think there might have been a couple other little things in there that were weird. But I think that everything else kind of made sense. And I'm glad that we got to nerd out with him about being a director, because like we talked about, we had a lot of directing questions. It wasn't just about Parks and Rec. It was kind of about like if you needed advice on how to be a director, or just like tips and tricks and things that he's learned along the way and funny tidbits. Like I loved all his anecdotes that he had to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He was a wealth of knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, super fun.
It was a great time.
Super thoughtful. I cannot get over how thoughtful he was in like the way that he phrased things. I will say it in the outro, but I'm saying it again. I'm smitten. I'm a smitten kitten. No, I thought it was really funny too, because he was like, maybe he don't want me to say this, but he was like taking his laptop and like he moved over to the couch and he was like turning on his lamps and then he was like moving around and I was so into that.
He was chill.
He was so chill. Yeah. He was like, we're just hanging out, which is the best part.
I like it. That's what we mean for it to be anyway.
Exactly.
So.
It's just a combo. But anyway, well, we are actually recording this on Veterans Day, so our heart and our thoughts and our love goes out to all the soldiers today. And we will see you in December, because we're going to take next week off for Thanksgiving. So we hope you have a lovely Thanksgiving. But Maddie, do you have anything else that you'd like to say?
No, enjoy your week off from us and some time with family and hopefully a little bit of a break from work.
Yes, hopefully everyone gets a little bit of a break. I'm in such a better mood after having talked to him. It's incredible. There's just I could not have asked for more with our first director guest. So well, thank you so much again for listening, and please sit back, relax, and enjoy our conversation with Alex Hardcastle.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.
Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can, and I can see you now.
Yay!
Hi, how are you?
Oh my gosh, so good. We're so excited that you could come on today. This is so exciting for us.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm thrilled to be chatting with you guys.
Yes. How's your day going so far?
It's good. It's been busy. I'm making a movie at the moment with Rebel Wilson.
Oh, yes, I saw that. I follow you and Rebel, obviously. But, oh my gosh, I saw that. Oh, so great. I'm so excited. When does that come out?
I think it comes out in March on Netflix. And it's really fun. It's great. It's a really cool, exciting, high-concept high school comedy with Rebel going back to complete her senior year, aged 37. So it's pretty funny.
That's
That's
amazing. I watched that one film that she was in. Actually, I watched it on the plane, which obviously sounds terrible because you don't watch, like, people think that you don't watch things on the planes. But a lot of times it's just because I actually have time to watch it. It's not because it's a bad plane movie or anything.
Yeah.
But that one movie that she's in with, what's his name? The Hemsworth, one of the Hemsworths.
Isn't it romantic?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with that movie.
It was
so
cute,
good, right?
It was like the ending too, with the whole big dance number. I was so shook with it. I love it.
It was really fun. And in fact, weirdly, the guy, so do you remember the guy who played her gay best friend in it?
Yes.
He's an actor called Brandon Scott Jones, who's lovely. So Brandon wrote the film that we just did.
No.
Cool.
He was phenomenal. The way he like turned his serious tone on, like in the switch of a dime, and then like it's this big huge monologue of him being serious, and he goes right back into the comedy. I'm like, what the hell just happened? It was perfect.
He's great, and he's in this movie as well. He wrote it and he's in it.
Yay! What's it called again?
It's called Senior Year.
Okay, Senior Year. Everybody look out for Senior Year.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. There's Rebel, Sam Richardson, Alicia Silverstone.
Wow, big cast.
Justin Hartley. Mary Holland, Zoe Chow, a lot of great people. Very excited.
That's so cool. And you just wrapped on Grace and Frankie as well. Congratulations.
I did. Thank you. Yeah, we just did the finale of that, which was really fun and sort of somewhat, there was some tears. It's been 7 years with those guys, and who knows whether I'll be working with, Jane or Lily again. I would love to, but, you never know. Working with these Oscar winners is, a real blessing for me.
Mm. Yeah. I actually follow or I listened to June Diane Raphael's podcast with Jessica St. Clair, both of them were on Parks, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But June was talking about it, about Grace and Frankie, and how she was like, I feel like I'm really upset and sad. And I was like, of course you are, baby girl.
She's so funny on the show. She's just like a comedy machine. I love June.
Me too.
So talented. Quick question. We're not doing video, right? This is just an audio.
No.
That's right.
I might I'll grab a picture to post on Instagram or whatever, but no, we're not doing video. It's just
so I can pick my nose.
Exactly. I'll probably tell everyone. No, I'm kidding.
That sounds good. Is there anything before we do the interview? Is there anything that I should be like aware of or anything?
No. We're basically just going to talk about the two that you directed, but we're also really interested because you're our first director that we've had, and we are super stoked. It's been on my wish list for a very long time to talk about, especially like technicalities with directing, but also just in general with the mockumentary style. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll have some like nerdy questions, or what we would consider nerdy questions, that I hope that you'll indulge us in geeking out over.
Of course. I might not have the answers, but yeah, of course you can answer.
Well, we'll try.
I will definitely.
But no, thank you for asking. I did hear that you watched the two shows that you directed, or 2 episodes that you directed, and it brought it all back. So I'm super excited to like get into the nitty gritty of it, because we just did Leslie's House. We just released that podcast, so we're super excited. But I'm kind of going off the beaten path here, because usually I start with like how you got to Parks and Rec and everything, but I feel like it bodes well for me to ask like how you started directing first. Like what was your first ever thing, and like how did you get to the directing part, and was that something that you always wanted to do? Like walk us through that.
Definitely, yeah. I did it is, very much, I know it's kind of a what's the word, what is the word I'm looking for? Hold on, sorry. You're going to edit out the bad stuff, right? Yeah, exactly.
Of course. I'm very good at that.
I know it is really predictable, but much like many directors, I when I was a kid, I used to have a video camera, and we used to do a lot of sketch comedy.
Sure.
It was probably terrible, but it was immense fun. And so I think I knew from a young age that I really enjoyed it. But when I left university in the UK, I became a producer. Well, I actually became a researcher first and then a producer.
Okay.
And so it was really fun. I did a lot of stuff working with great stand-ups, with great actors, with, all kinds of amazing musicians. I worked with, the Elton John and the Spice Girls and Rod Stewart and all these great people.
And that was all in the UK?
That was all in the UK.
Okay.
In my heart of hearts, I knew that I really wanted to direct. So eventually, when I was, I guess, I don't know, after maybe 7 or 8 years of producing, I spent some money. I wrote a short film, which is not great, but it's out there somewhere. I made this short film, and for maybe $10,000 or something like that, and it turned out fine. I mean, relatively. And from that, I managed to get a kind of comedy drama in the UK called Lead Balloon. That was great. It's kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it did really well in the UK, and it won some awards, I think, or got nominated for awards. I can't remember. And then at the same time, I also did a multicam, which is obviously a very different type of directing,
right?
On BBC One, and that was another show that is still on. Actually, it's on its, I think, 13th season or something.
Which one is it?
It's called Not Going Out.
Okay.
It's pretty funny. And from the success of those two shows, I got approached and asked to come over to work for Universal. And so I did, and hence Parks and Recreation and The Office and a bunch of other shows, which was really fun. So that's kind of my directing journey.
Yeah. Well, when you say that you got approached by Universal, was that in the UK or is that here?
No, it was here. I had an American agent already, and I think that it was through, they'd seen the success of the two English shows, though. And they had, I think then the head of comedy or whoever it was at Universal had asked some of her people to, she said, I like these two shows, find out who the two directors are. And they came back and they were like, it's actually the same director. And she was like, oh, okay, weird. Well, we should hire him then. So yeah, no, I got very lucky, I think. So it was a good smooth transition, actually, I have to say. And since then, I've almost not come back to the UK. Occasionally, I do projects in the UK. I did a really interesting, strange, kind of almost like gothic horror thing with Daniel Radcliffe and John Hamm.
We actually just talked about that. We were I did a very poor job of explaining what it is because I've watched it. I haven't watched all of it, but yeah, it's so different. And I was kind of explaining too how Daniel Radcliffe especially has been known since after Harry Potter to like take on roles that are not Harry Potter at all. You know
Definitely.
What I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So
he's so great and he's so fun in it. But it was definitely, there was a challenge. There were Daniel Radcliffe and
John Radcliffe
were supposed to be the same character at different times in their life. And that,
right.
I mean, without being, indiscreet, Daniel Radcliffe's not the tallest man, and John Hamm is, a good 6'2". So it presented, and obviously the different nationalities, it presented some challenges. But it was fun. People really enjoyed that. But yeah, that's the only time really I go back to the UK occasionally to do fun, interesting, quirky projects like that.
Yeah. Well, were you studying this as well, like at university, you said?
Yes.
What you were, and that's where the sketch stuff was? Or
no, the sketch stuff was before. The sketch stuff was when I was a teenager. At university, I studied architecture and history. But then I did actually study directing. I skipped over that bit. I went to the BBC Film School for directing, and that taught me a lot. And I think that, if there are other potential directors out there listening to this, I would definitely recommend doing some form of film school if you can, because the thing that they teach you isn't necessarily, I don't know, it isn't even necessarily the technique, because you can use so many different techniques. They can never really touch on that, and certainly not really the aesthetic, or indeed the sort of what's the word I'm looking for, like the nuance. But what it does teach you is how all of the departments work. And the BBC one's great because they make you work on sound for a day, and costume design for a day, and makeup for a day, and camera for a day, and whatever. And so you learn very quickly to respect and understand each individual person's job and how complicated they are, which I think is really valuable. And then hopefully makes you a better kind of team leader when it comes to directing many, these lots of cogs whirring around that make a TV show.
Yeah, definitely, because you're wearing so many different hats, I feel, as a director. You know what I mean? So, like, it really helps. I mean, I always say that, too. It's just like every person should work in the service industry at some point in their life. Like, every person on set should kind of know what everyone else has to do or put up with so that they can be a little more empathetic and just keep the wheel turning, so to speak,
100%. And the lingo, right? Like, it helps to be able to talk, like, in a way that you're going to understand each other probably too.
Yeah, 100%. Hold on, I'm just going to turn my messages off because they're beeping, and that's not
distracting.
Sorry, this can be.
No, you're good.
It's all good.
You couldn't hear it, so you're fine.
Okay, good. And feel free, if you feel like my answers are too long or not clear, just tell me to do it again.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
You're
No,
good.
this is great. We're just having a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, we like the authentic.
I love long answers.
You do?
I ask long questions. I know that sounds like wild, but this is the platform to do it. You know what I mean? Like we
That's
can
true,
go
I
for as
guess.
long as we want.
That's true. I feel like in comedy, all I ever do is spend my whole time trying to cut stuff down.
I
Like-
know
Yeah.
it. I understand. I know. I get it.
I've never had a
Timing is
cut in
everything.
come short ever. I'm sorry, I've never had a cut come in under ever.
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
they're
Or
always-
like on time.
Yeah, no, not even close to on time. Yeah, exactly. They're so long, my cuts. So anyway, that's why I
But
have
yeah,
them.
understanding the lingo, it would definitely make a lot of difference, I feel.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And I think also there is some difference between how the UK and the US film industry works. So that was definitely a little bit of an awakening for me. Not a huge one, but like the role of producer and director are different in the UK and the US.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting and was definitely a surprise to me.
Yeah.
And there's various terminology and things that are different. And also there's a lot more money in the American film business. I feel like in the UK, we make everything work with a couple of bits of glue and some cardboard. And whereas I think in the US, they spend real money and make stuff look
Yeah,
pretty damn
that's
good.
for sure. Okay, so Universal has contacted you. Now,
Yeah.
what is the first thing that Universal asks you to do, or what kind of happens after they contact you?
So I think the first thing they asked me to do was a multicam called a failed multicam called 100 Questions for Charlotte Payne, which was with, do you know the actor David Walton?
I don't.
It was David
Sounds
Walton. You'd recognize him. He's a super handsome, very funny guy. David Walton, Colette Wolfe, and I can't remember who. Oh, Chris Moynihan wrote it. Anyway,
Okay.
we did that. I think that was not very successful. And I think from there, we were actually shared an office with Parks and Rec. We shared a building. We were like one
Sure.
floor was them and one floor was us. And from there, I think it was while I was working there that they said, do you want to go upstairs and talk to Greg Daniels and Dan about maybe doing Parks and Rec? So I think probably on my lunch break or something like that, I went upstairs and talked to them and they were like, yeah, you should come do it.
That's amazing. Okay, wait. So this is, I should know this because of research, but Parks and, like the two that you directed,
Yeah.
coincided with The Office, meaning that they were at the same, like The Office was airing at the same time as
Do
Parks
you know,
and Rec
that's
this time.
it was airing at the same time. I actually don't remember which show I directed first. I'm going to say it was Parks and Rec. I think it was.
I think it was.
Okay.
Because the christening is a little bit later in The Office, like a
Yeah.
lot
It's
later,
Season
I feel.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
Rashida had already left to go
Right.
do Parks and Rec.
Yes,
so
that's
I
right.
think
That's right.
Yeah. And then did you get to pick which episode you directed, or were they kind of like, hey, we've got a spot open kind of
Yeah,
thing?
no,
or-
they literally just tell you that you don't even know what script you're going to get. You literally just agree to do an episode and they just tell you the dates. You don't know what episode number it is or what the script is or any of it will be until, usually just before you turn up in the office or sometimes after you turned up in the office when you're given the script and you're like, oh, great. And this is amazing. So certainly in the case of Practice Day, I immediately loved that script. I was just like, this is so funny. And I obviously was the biggest fan of Amy. And I don't know if I'd seen season 1 of Parks and Rec. I feel like I probably hadn't.
It slipped under the radar for quite a few people.
It did. And although Amy was definitely very high on my list of the funniest women in America and remained at the very top of that list, I think that, I think I hadn't seen it. And obviously season 2, when I started it, nothing had even been finished. It was, I was doing episode 4, but that was only a week into them starting, sort of, they're probably in their very beginnings of filming nothing, there'd be no edits out of any of the other shows. So,
Right.
So, the only thing I could look at was season 1. And I think you studied it much more than I have, but I believe from what I understand, season 1 had a slightly shaky start and then season 2 really started to take off, which is great.
Well, as we know, ratings don't really mean a ton, but yeah, their rating, well, not at the time it did, obviously, but clearly it doesn't matter in this grand scheme of things because people loved Parks and Rec or love it still to this day. But I feel like the first season, people were comparing it so heavily to The Office as well. And I remember Amy Poehler kind of like talking about that in a lot of behind the scenes videos that I've seen where she was just like, people were expecting me to be Michael Scott, basically.
Right.
And then when they learned that I wasn't. They had to get some like used to it, and it is a different tone. Like it's the same creators and it's the same like energy, but it's very different. So I think people just needed to get used to it. And
I definitely agree with that. I think Parks and Rec, and I'd actually forgotten how unbelievably sweet and warm it is. Watching it again last night, I take my hat off to those guys for creating a comedy that has so much positivity and heart and relatability, and is never once seems to stoop low or be mean or mean-spirited or laugh at other people's expense. So I just thought it was, and I still think it stands out as one of those comedies that's just delightfully gentle and wonderful. And I really respect that so much. And that wasn't quite, I wouldn't say that was necessarily true of The Office. I think that Parks and Rec has a unique warmth and just a lovability about it that
I do too.
I think is incredible.
I totally agree.
I think they almost learned from The Office, right? Because one of the big complaints that The Office had in the first season or two is how harsh Michael Scott is and how like he makes you cringe like sometimes with what he says. And I think they kind of were like, okay, we're gonna stick away from that kind of the brutality of some of the things that Michael says, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
They were like, no.
Yeah, I feel like Leslie Knope would never say anything bad about anybody ever, which I love. But she would, she would get her point.
She doesn't mean to.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But she was great. Like I felt like she always, she wasn't somebody who but she was just so determined, and she always sort of got her own way. But she did it in the best. Well, not necessarily the best possible way, but like in the kindest possible way.
Right, what she thought was right and fair and just.
Exactly. Often wildly misguided.
Right.
That's why we all adore her so much.
Exactly. Well, so speaking of Leslie's House, though, when you were talking about the script, that was actually one of my questions, like, how far in advance do you get the script? I know you said, like, when you roll up in the office, that's like, this is your script, the end kind of thing. But, like, how far in advance is that before you start shooting? And how far in advance, I guess, do you have before you get to set?
Yeah, so you have, it's a very, with the sort of network system that this was obviously in the day, it's a pretty sort of simple kind of thing. It's basically like a week on, which is where you are doing pre-prep, and so you're doing prep and pre-prep. So you're reading the script, casting the actors, talking to the creator, scouting locations, talking to the wardrobe people, everybody else you need to speak to, and then a week of shooting, and then a week of post. So it's kind of just like a week.
Got it. Okay.
So it basically, with any of these half hours, they essentially reflect 3 weeks of specifically only the director's work, if that makes sense. Like everybody else is on it the whole time, but we're on it for just those 3 weeks. So I guess in the case of season 2, I did 2, and so they probably, I don't remember quite how they fitted together, but that means I was, I guess, with them for 6 weeks.
Yeah. And how is that? Because I listen to a lot of podcasts, like speaking of, just rewatch shows, but also they speak of how kind of as a guest director, you're supposed to be their boss, but yet you don't kind of like know them or their tone yet. So like, how was that kind of vibe? And I mean, is it different on this show versus, any other show that you might have worked on? And I guess just like melding with the characters and the crew and the cast. That's
a good question. I think that in general, it is a very difficult job, actually. I think it's also, it's extremely hard because you are trying to sort of, as whoever it was you were talking about said, you are essentially kind of their boss on the day, and you're definitely responsible for sort of ensuring that the circus performs in a certain direction. But you also don't know them, and so it can be tricky. I actually knew Rashida before.
Oh, okay.
Before I started filming Parks and Rec.
She knew everybody.
I know.
I'm finding.
I love her. So I knew Rashida, and you get to meet all of the cast before, by and large, which is helpful.
Oh, that's good.
I will say that Parks and Rec sticks in my brain as one of the most friendly and welcome and open casts I've ever worked with. I'd also take my hat off to pretty much all of the Americans I've ever worked with, especially the bigger the talent, the easier they are to work with, specifically with regard to Amy, to Steve Carell, to Robin Williams, any of them. The fact that they were so open and wanted notes and wanted ideas and would take jokes or physical pictures or anything is really incredible to me, because it would be so easy for them to go, why am I listening to you?
No, thank you.
But these people, the reason why they do so well, I think, is because they assimilate. Well, first of all, they're uniquely gifted, but also they assimilate everybody's idea. They listen to everyone, and they're kind. And so and I would say that was absolutely true of Amy. And Amy led from the top and led by example. And she and I got on so well. And I think you can really see, not so much perhaps in Leslie's house, but in practice day, I think all of the time she was doing those English accents, which is quite a few times, I think was because of me. And she would spend quite a lot of her time imitating me on set.
Oh my God.
I think that's why when you hear her
good lady.
Yeah, exactly. And let's put a, what did she say? Something about like put something in the Beatles record and go down the pub.
Yeah.
That was all improvised, and
of course it was. I think that, you saying that Steve Carell and Amy Poehler are like kind of the heads of the show and they create this energy for the rest of the cast and crew. But I also think that the reason, I mean, this is just my own theory, mine own, no one else's, not Universal's, but that like it stems from improv. I feel like they're taking people's suggestions, they're laughing with people, but they also want to get the work done. Like that's such an improv mindset, I feel.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the improv on Parks and Rec was uniquely good. Like I don't think there's within the group of people I've worked with. Oh, this could sound bad. Sorry.
I'll cut it out if I need to.
Okay, I can.
Or you can take a minute to phrase it the way.
I can phrase it. I think that the cast of Parks and Rec were unique in the sense that I don't know if there's ever been a better big ensemble where there is not one single weak character. I mean, it's truly incredible. I'm watching and working with everybody from, Aziz, who's crazy funny, to Chris Pratt, who's super warm and great and is hilarious, and Aubrey, who's got dry as, I don't even know, and Amy, who's funny as hell, and Nick Offerman. Oh my God, I love Offerman. I just loved every single one of them. I adored. Plus, I got to work with amazing, guest stars as well. We had Louis C.K. in Practice Day and Justin Theroux in Leslie's house, and they were incredible, and all the other guest stars who were brilliant. But particularly for me, Louis was I was a big fan of Louis then, and Justin of course is amazing.
Yeah, of course.
So it was a real treat.
But like you said, too, I mean, as you're explaining all these people, they're all so unique. They're all so different, and they bring their own flavor to it. There's nobody that's like, oh, yeah, that person does the same exact thing as that other person. Like, that's just it's not a thing. And it's so, the way that it melds is so perfect. I love that.
I definitely agree. I really do. I think they cast so brilliantly. And, we had a lot of fun doing even the smaller roles, on the show. Like, obviously when we turn up as directors, we get given our, I found something today. This is the original script. This is my actual, I have the actual whole thing that's fallen apart.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Oh, wow.
Which is fine. I have not looked at this for a very, very, very long time.
That's amazing that you kept it. Oh my God.
I know. I think I knew even at the time that I was like, okay, this is going to be whatever.
Something special.
But yeah, I mean, this is an early one that sort of has, I'm just looking at the cast list here. It just says, it doesn't even say who they are. It just says Leslie Ann, Mark, Tom, Ron, April, Jerry, Donna, Dave, Wendy. And then it's got like 70-year-old woman, it says here. And I've written, ask Greg. I don't know why. I have no idea. And then I've written, foreigner, I want to know what love is for the jazz standard at the end. So
wait, which one was that? Was that Practice Date? Or
Practice Date, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Which is kind of fun. I'd forgotten how funny that opening scene was. The scene with Councilman Dexhart or whatever he's called.
Oh gosh.
It's hilarious. And he's called, actually in this script, he's called Craig Whiteley. And
what?
Oh.
I know. There is.
Interesting.
That's the opening page.
Oh my God, that is so exciting. Yes, we talked to Dexhart as well. We interviewed him too, and he said that. Yeah. He's so wonderful. We love Kevin
different
Simons.
from his character. Like he's probably the most different we've had, right? Like from his character.
So far.
Like he's just because he's so genuine, and he like was a huge fan of Parks and Rec, so he just had this big smile on his face the whole time. We're like, good, you're not creepy.
Yeah, he was straight up joyful. I didn't ask.
You didn't? Rude.
I'm so sorry, Alex.
He was, I guess, I'm sure we cast him though, right? He was one of the He was one of the.
Yeah, that was his
That-
first episode was
Yeah.
Practice Date.
Because-
And then he kept coming back. The second one he came back for was Christmas Scandal. And then obviously, Leslie gets nominated. Well, I guess technically that's the right word. But no, she gets to city council. And so then they have Dex Hart keep coming back with JM and everybody. But yeah, I mean,
And I think
I'm assuming that would have been either Dorian Frankel or Allison Jones that cast him. I can't remember who he said was in the audition room with him.
Yeah, that I don't know, but
That's okay.
I do.
You're like, not my
I
job.
do also think we cast Pert Hapley, didn't we, for this one?
Yeah, he was also in Practice Date.
Yeah, he was
a
in
big
Practice Date,
episode.
was he only in this one? Yeah. Pert Hapley. He didn't have a name here. They just said they watched the TV newscaster. I'm assuming this is her. This is him. Sorry. It turns out that Councilman Whiteley, it says here, may also have had sex with a prostitute in the limousine on the way to and from the press conference where he was having an affair. Oh yeah, he's called Pert Hapley in the script. Pert Hapley, Channel 4.
Okay, good.
News. So it's kind of.
That's crazy, though. What'd you say, Craig Whiteley?
He was called Councilman Whiteley.
Okay, that is going to have to be a trivia
Yeah,
moment.
Craig Whiteley. Craig Whiteley.
That's wild. What are some of the notes
Wow.
you have in the margin there?
Good question. I've written in this.
I'm so intrigued.
I know, right?
I'm trying to see. Hold on.
Can you read your handwriting? Is the
I can
question
read.
from
You're gonna
like
have a
10
Maddie
years ago?
moment where I can never read my handwriting.
The opening scene says, start on TV, widen to reveal them watching. Wow, that was smart. And then I've written, I'm trying to see what else I've written on here.
But was that in the stage
No, that's me.
direction?
These are my notes that I've written by the side.
Okay, Alex, look,
Um,
see, that wasn't in the script, so you did that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've written here, next to the newscaster, i.e. Pert Hapley, I've written with news trucks. So I guess that I asked for some news trucks to be in the shot. I don't know.
Okay, that's a question that I have also is like how you can ask for props and things like that you want in the background, because the main I guess knowledge that I have from like a director's perspective is actually Zach Braff, who always talks about it because he started directing on Scrubs, and I've listened to the Scrubs podcast.
Yeah.
And he said he talks like he doesn't anymore really, but he used to incessantly talk about how one of the shots that he did like involved a crane, and he was like, "This budget is so not like we don't have this, but I'm asking for it, and we have to get it."
Right.
And so I was kind of wondering if you had any experiences like that, or how it worked getting those trucks, or any other kind of insight as to like what you needed to have for the shot that you wanted.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Parks and Rec was a different beast in the sense that you would never want a crane or any of those things because it had to have that news, that sort of
Right.
what's the word?
Mockumentary
Yeah,
situation.
mockumentary style or documentary
Yeah,
style.
like real life technically.
So I don't think we ever asked for any special tools on that show. But in general, often on shows, so I mean, I just finished doing the Grace and Frankie finale, for example. It was a lot of you basically go in and you have a vision for however you want to make the scene, or you want to create, however you want to create the scene. So you'll say to them, I think it could be great to have a top shot here. And then if we had the crane that day, we might also use it for this shot or X or Y or whatever it is. And then you put a request in through the UPM for whatever tools you really want. Most crews now have Steadicam all the time because it's just cheaper to have it because we all use Steadicam all the time.
Wait, through the who you said?
The Steadicam?
You said you request that stuff through
Through the
UPM?
UPM, the unit production manager.
UPM. Okay.
And then they'll say yes or no. I will say that in my recent experience, I've been doing a lot of stuff for Netflix. Invariably the answer has always been yes in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Prior to that, getting a crane or sometimes even getting a Steadicam was hard work, really hard work. You had to beg for this stuff.
Interesting.
So-
Is that because budgets changed with streaming, or?
I think so. I think it's to do with that. And I think it's also to do with, I guess to some extent as a director, you have to prove that you're going to use the tools, because sometimes those tools can take more time rather than save time. And the worst thing you can do is request a crane that costs $15,000 a day or $20,000 a day and then not use it. And that has happened.
yeah.
Not to me, but it does happen. So you
Yeah.
know, you can imagine it's like, that's a big no.
Yeah. Well, do you have anyone that like helps you, like an assistant or anything that would I don't know, just assist you with whatever you might need? Or is it mostly just up to you kind of thing, reaching out to the different departments that you need?
No, so you have a first AD who, and they also do a cyclical thing. So the first AD on Parks and Rec, I don't remember who it was actually, but they would do 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. So I would end up with whichever first AD it was. As I said, I don't remember actually, but I'm sure they were great. I had a fantastic time doing the show, which usually means the first AD was great. And so they help you and they come up with ideas. And, they would also go down with me, say to Parks and Rec, we would go down to the set and spend time on the set, acting through the scene, playing all of the parts, thinking about where the cameras could go or what props we would need or whatever it is, any element that you feel like would contribute. Or if you needed them to cut a hole in the wall because you wanted to put a camera somewhere. Actually, maybe that's a bad example in Parks and Rec, but in most shows you can to cut a hole in the wall or do whatever because you might want a camera somewhere or whatever. And Parks and Rec, I feel like they might not have done it because they wanted it to always have that feel of being very, very real. I was always amazed when I got into discussing it, that whenever we were shooting in the courtyard, they'd always be like, okay, so how many pigeons do you want? And I'd be like,
yes,
good question.
Holy,
oh my God. You don't know how much you're changing my life. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but for the first full season, I kid you not, every episode of the podcast, we talked about those damn pigeons in the courtyard because I was like, are they real? Are they fake? Are there some that's real and some that's fake? What is the deal? So you're cracking the code for me. Okay, wait, so explain everything.
They were
Start
real.
from the beginning.
They were definitely real. And you would request them and they would come in, they would have their own pigeon handler and they would be gloriously looked after. They had amazing crafty and they were, I actually think they probably had a lovely day. I don't know, they seemed to. So it was unusual for sure.
That's amazing.
I have had
because
some
there's
fun,
that one. Oh, go ahead.
I've had some fun guest animal stars over the years for sure. I was shooting something at Warner Brothers a couple of years ago, and I remember during the take there was this like incredible banging going on and like scraping, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And actually, I don't know if we were filming or them or not, but while we were filming, an entire family of raccoons came down from the rafters.
No!
Oh my gosh!
My God! So
that wasn't on Parks and Rec. That would have been perfect if it was, because they always talk about the raccoon.
Exactly. So it didn't happen on Parks and Rec, but we did have for 100% real, proper live actual pigeons.
Oh my gosh, that is amazing. I'm so glad to hear it. There has been, we talked about it. There's been incessant talk about the pigeons, but I always think about that one scene on the cake, which was, I don't think was on your episode, but it was during Rock Show. I think it was maybe because
it's Rock Show.
Okay. And there's a pigeon literally just walking around in this green icing on the cake.
That's funny. I don't think I've seen that.
And they had like little green pigeon footprints all over the rest of the day.
That's great. I love that.
Me too.
It was an interesting choice. I guess the production designer thought it would, help give us a sense that we were outside somehow. And I thought it was cute. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't tell that courtyard is on a soundstage at all.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It was a fun set. It was a really cool set. Actually, I loved the fact that it was all, practical and you could walk all the way around. And it really did feel like, and plus that mural is amazing.
So cool.
Rarely bettered, I would say. It's one of my favorite certainly one of my favorite bits of, I guess technically, set decoration I've ever had or worked with.
Yeah. And remind me, what I know it's on Universal, but which lot was it on?
So actually,
was it in Studio City or?
It was at Radford, CBS Radford.
Oh, that's right.
So we were shooting I was very excited because for me, it was, that was the same stage. That was the same studio where they shot Seinfeld. And in fact, we filmed, in practice day, at the beginning, was it the beginning? I think it was at the beginning. We had a scene where they were in, her and Justin. It must have been. Sorry,
Leslie's house. No, you're good.
Yeah, it's straight from the record. In Leslie's house. At the beginning, they had a scene where I think they're in Minneapolis or somewhere else. And
Indianapolis, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Indianapolis. That's right. And they filmed that we filmed that on the that sort of Seinfeld street, that New York street, where they filmed every little clip of Seinfeld that was supposed to be.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So it was a great feeling for me doing, filming on that lot felt like a real thing. I was very excited.
That's so cool. Well, and then so you were talking about how they were on that street in Indianapolis. Did you have to make, or can you explain a little bit to me about the shot list of how you walk through each scene in the episode, and kind of like is there such a thing as like a planned out shot list of what exactly you'll need for each scene kind of thing? Like, I know you talked a little bit about it, but are you actually making a document of all the stuff that you need, if that makes sense?
Yeah, totally. So 99% of the shows that I do a shot list for every scene. I break it down and we'll say we need X, Y, and Z. But I don't know whether with this I did or not. Let me see if I've written anything down on here. I can tell you some notes that I wrote on the back. I don't see anything about shot list, but I've written on the back. These were my notes. Okay. A spy thriller B-roll feel for them typing, etc., from their POV, create tension. So I guess that's when they're trying to do that thing about, I guess, getting dirt on each other. Then I've written add Andy.
Add Andy.
I don't know. I'm like,
very vague.
Yeah, I've written more April stuff for her dirt story. So I guess that's whatever that was.
Yeah, we were wondering. They didn't find too much on her. But I mean, there wasn't a lot of time to. That's
true. She, at the end, obviously, she had that thing where she had got she didn't like taking a ride in lawnmower from Nordstrom?
In the mall.
Yeah.
That
was funny.
and there's a video of it.
Where was that?
That was, I guess that was in Burbank. I don't even remember that bit. No, this is a while ago, though. I haven't got a terrible
It was so short, like that little piece.
This was a very, very long time ago, so I don't know. I've written 606 Club photos. Oh, that must have been Ron Silver's place.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Duke
God.
Silver.
Yeah.
606 Club. Okay, interesting. This is good for me to look up.
Yeah, 606 Club. Police. I'm trying to see what else I've written on here.
So exciting.
Oh, sorry, this might be boring, but I'm trying to see if there's
it's
funny stuff.
Everything.
I literally haven't read this since I filmed it, so it's kind of weird for me just looking at this.
That's amazing, though. It's like you're in a time capsule.
Yeah, it kind of is. Let me see whether it had any of the stuff. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the scene where she's talking. She goes over to Louis C.K.'s house and to Dave, I guess he's called, his house, and it says here. Dave says, maybe I should give you a lift home. Leslie suddenly realizes exactly what she's done. Oh my God, I went to your house. I drank too much. I went to your house. That's what I did. Dave says, Leslie. She goes, no, don't say anything, please. Not a word. Just take me home. And that's all it says. So when you watch the episode, that's where she's doing her stuff about, all right, I want to go to the
pub.
To the pub and the Beatles record and the stuff about, I want to go to the lavatory. You impressed that I know what that is, or restroom or whatever. You impressed that I know what that is. All of that stuff was improvised.
Wow.
I know. So it's actually fun looking back, and I'm like, okay, this looks really good. I do have one interesting fun fact.
Yes,
maybe not that fun, semi-fun.
It'll be fun.
There's stuff at the beginning of the episode where they're around at Rashida's house, at Anne's house, and which I think is really funny, where Leslie's talking about all the disastrous things that have happened to her. Like, she set her arm on fire and took too many.
Took the pills because she thought they were like Tic Tacs or something.
Exactly. So we shot all day, I think, on that stage, doing all of those scenes there, plus some other work. I can't remember what it was. And I think that was like on day 2. I think about 3 days later, I got a call from, or the producer came down and he said, I've got some bad news. The camera cards for all of that day were wiped. And we were like, oh God. And so I think they had actually, somehow or other, they had taken all of our media from that day and they had wiped the whole lot clean. They'd erased it.
Oh my gosh.
So because it's so expensive on Parks and Rec, and any of these network shows cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a day.
Of course.
And they didn't want to have to redo it. They sent off I guess they sent all of the discs that had been erased off to, I believe, and this might be apocryphal, but I believe somewhere in Washington, where it's like some sort of, I don't know if it was like some Pentagon thing or some whatever.
Oh my God.
They managed to retrieve, after about a week, all of the data that had been fully erased. Like the files said they were empty, but actually the data was still there. So we thought for about a week, we were going to have to reshoot the whole day. And then they pulled it out of the hat. And I'm really happy they did, because there's some really, really funny stuff, much of it improvised, that we would never have had.
That's insane. Wow. You got some spy shit happening.
I know, right? I'm wondering whether, because that scene is so funny. Let me see if I've written anything. That's right near the beginning, isn't it? Hold on.
Yeah. They have like a montage moment.
Yeah.
Of all the outfits.
So that's right. And she's like, I want to go now. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Anne's house,
or we could go now. She's always leaving work in the middle of the day to hang out with Anne, clean her house, right? Do something.
That's really funny. I like that. Oh, yeah. So this looks fairly similar. Sorry, I'm just going to see. Some of this stuff didn't make it into the cut. What if he shows, this is Leslie talking to Anne. She goes, what if I get drunk and bring up Darfur too much or not enough? What if I don't bring it up enough? She goes, okay, but real fast, what if he shows up with another woman? Or what if he wants to have sex through a plastic sheet? Or what if one of my sleeves catches on fire and it spreads rapidly? Or I pop a Tic Tac and accidentally take Ambien and have to keep punching my own leg to stay awake? I guess most of that's in there. The sex through a plastic sheet is not.
No, it's not.
But anyway.
She's like, Anne's like, why do you think any of that's going to happen? She's like, those things have happened.
Yeah, all of them happened to me. Oh, and then I don't remember what list she says for the things that happened to her, for her funny stories of what have happened on dates. But the ones they have in the script are, one time I accidentally drank an entire bottle of vinegar and I thought it was terrible wine. That's not it.
Oh, yeah, that's in there.
It is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's in there.
One time I went out with a guy who wore 3D glasses the entire night, even when we made out. Is that in there?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is either. They've got the one where she went to the film and fell asleep and the guy tried to steal her tooth, right?
Yes, that one is in there.
But all the others, like this one, I think she talked about like a side cut detaching and she went down some stairs. All of that's just Leslie being Leslie and coming up with crazy, or Amy being Amy, coming up with crazy funny stories just at the drop of a hat. It's amazing to me.
It is amazing.
Isn't that
do you direct any of that?
That's what I was going to say. No, that's exactly my question. How do you do that as a director? Do you kind of like know what she's going to do, or you prepare for it, or do you do anything? Or are you just kind of sitting back at that point?
You kind of sit. So what I tend to do is and this happens with most of my shows, and I think I learned it in a good way from Parks and Rec. I will always try and get what's in the script twice. Once to make sure it's good, and once just as a safety in case something went wrong with it, as I found out on Parks and Rec when we looked at all our media. And then from then on, I do a fun run for the rest of the take. So I just let them do whatever they like, as long as it's similar-ish. So I learned that from Parks and Rec, and it's something that I've taken onto every show I've ever done and movies since then, and even commercials, everything I do it with. And I guess I learned that from Amy. So yeah, you literally set up the shot, and she would have done these 3 lines that I just read, the talking heads. And then I would have said to her, okay, have fun with it. Just tell us as many bad dating stories as you can think of. And with a talent that big, she probably came up with 20, and we were almost certainly had tears in our eyes and
that's amazing,
covering our mouth to try and not laugh.
Well, and I have a question about improv for the camera work, because a lot of the times the cameraman, like, a line is improv, the camera person, man or woman or whoever, they will zone in or zoom in rather to catch something that the improv line said. And I'm wondering, like, did you have a lot to do with where the camera looked exactly like, because on a mockumentary I'm talking about, because I feel like with a multicam, like, you have kind of your setups that you want, but with a mockumentary it's a little bit more stylistic in the sense where, like you said, it has to be real. So I'm thinking about, like, the shots, number one, like, that you want that were scripted, but then with the improv, a lot of times if the cameraman doesn't catch it, then the improv line doesn't work. Exactly. That's not always true, but, like, you know what I mean? So, like, how does that happen?
So yeah, a lot of that is you sort of put your trust and faith in the camera people. And actually, now you mention it, we had the most fantastic female camera lady. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Kimberly. I love that.
And she was amazing. I don't remember her name now, but she was brilliant. And she and the other cameraman on it just had a natural, really great instinct for when the cast were going to say something funny. Obviously, it's a lot easier doing, a scene with 2 people. It's like you've got a camera pointed one way and a camera pointed the other way. And by and large, that, will give you everything you need. But when you're doing, which obviously in practice tape, there's lots of it, and in all of Parks and Rec, I guess, scenes with 6, 7, 8, 9 people, it's really
Right.
hard to know who's going to say something funny, especially with that cast. It's anyone or all of them.
Absolutely.
So, it does present a challenge, but I remember you basically have to put your faith in, you have to put your faith in the camera people. And if by any chance they don't get it, I'll just get them to do it again and just say, be prepared for this line. And I'd ask the actor to do the improv line again.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Which is great. And, the show is really good because it works quickly and you have time to experiment and try stuff. Plus, the improv nature of it keeps it fresh for everybody, as you said. It's like, so I don't think in Parks and Rec you ever would see somebody looking bored. I feel like that's not going to happen because all the time people are like, oh my God, what are they going to do? Who's going to do that? Who's going to do that? What's going to happen over there? Or what's the pigeon doing in the background?
Exactly.
I think that's, that's part of the reason why the show is so good is because Greg Daniels was so great at being open, and NBC as well, at being open to, letting the cast create the show and the directors and the crew create the show as they went along.
Right. Well, and did you have any experience with working in a mockumentary setting or like a live situation? Because I know Dean Holland and not Dean Holland. Oh my gosh, the other fella that I'm really into was on Survivor, has such a huge experience with Survivor. Randall Einhorn. That's
Randall Einhorn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so when he came to the office, he was like, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing with a live show. And that's how it kind of got that tone, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you had brought any of that experience with you.
I don't think so. I'll be brutally honest. I don't think I'd done it before. And I think that I don't think they hired me for that. I think that with that show and with The Office, you kind of have to, as I say, put your faith in the camera people and in the DP, and just know that they're doing it the way that they do it. And what we bring to it is, as the director, is the blocking for the actors, and then creating the environment where the actors can be as fun as they can. And then obviously you can suggest things to them and also try and mold the storyline in a certain way so that it emphasizes whatever bit of the story you really want to emphasize. But who knows? At the end of the day, the one of the differences that is true. Hold on. I think this is interesting, but hold on. Let me just think about how to phrase it.
Yeah. I love that. How thoughtful you are.
Okay. So one of the big differences between UK and US television is that in the UK, the director, whatever the director delivers as the cut is what ends up on TV. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the US, the director, as a director, you hand over your cut to the producers and the producers then finesse it however they see fit. Mm-hmm. And then it ends up on TV. So I found out the hard way when I came to America that they would not always, what I loved in a show would often not end up on the air. And I realized that quite early on. And so as a result of that, I never watched anything that I've ever directed on TV. So for this,
of disappointment?
Yeah, just in case. I have no idea. It could be great. It could be bad. I have no idea. I never watch it. So what I hand over is the director's cut. And I'm proud of that. I wouldn't hand over a director's cut that I wasn't proud of. And so if they decide to cut it however they want to cut it or change it however they want to, that's on them. But so the interesting thing for me was I've never seen these episodes of Parks and Recreation. I watched them for the first time ever last night.
No,
for real. So
that's so wow.
I know. So I was very, very happy. Now I don't remember what we cut out because I don't remember filming it.
Sure.
But
Peacock is now releasing some of the director's cuts. I don't think Leslie's House. Maybe Practice State was, but I don't think that Leslie's House is, but they're doing that now, and they're doing it with The Office as well, where they're releasing everything. So
that's interesting. That's really interesting. Mm-hmm. I feel like I definitely let's not go to The Office. Don't worry about it. Okay.
I don't even know what you were saying, so it's totally fine.
But I was very, very proud of Practice Day. I'm rewatching both of them. I think they're both very strong episodes, I think. And really some really laugh out loud funny moments. So I was like, damn, this is so good. So I was very proud of.
Oh, I'm so glad you're proud of it. You should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me really happy. And so thank you for getting me to finally watch something that I actually have done for the first time.
Yeah. That's so wild. I mean, I know a lot of actors who hold that same kind of thought where they're like, I don't want to watch it because I don't want to know. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But did you already have kind of a tone before you got to Parks and Rec, if that makes sense? Like, did you have something signature that you do in every kind
I
of
think
idea?
so. I think so to some extent. I guess to some extent you do get pigeonholed in what you want to do. I mean, the film that I made when I was my short film was a quite dark comedy. I mean, it was about a guy who kind of wished people dead and then found out that he actually could wish people dead and they would die. And so it's a pretty dark premise,
Love
but it was sort of funny as well. So I think my natural inclination is dark comedy, but I think my skill, if I have any, or my whatever, is warm comedy. So I think Parks and Rec was a very good fit for me. And I think over the years, a lot of the shows that I've had the most success with are those kind of sweeter, funny, warmer shows, or the ones that are kind of a little bittersweet as well. So I think the reason I've done, 7 years of Grace and Frankie, I think is because it's a funny show, but it also has a lot of heart and sometimes can be incredibly sad. And one of the episodes of Grace and Frankie I remember directing was one where Jane is sort of confronting old age, and she, in front of Peter Gallagher, wipes off all of her makeup and takes off her knee brace, and she's like, "This is me, and this is what I'm really like. This, no fake lashes, no whatever." And I remember looking around the crew that day while we filmed it. We only shot it once, and literally the boom guy was crying, the camera operator was crying, and it went on to be, I think one of the iconic moments of that show. And I think that sort of, I'm not saying that because of, anything other than I think maybe that's where my strength lies in kind of slightly more heartfelt, sweet comedy, which I think is
so honest.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's honest, and I think it's I definitely I'm not into gross out comedy. I'm not that great at slapstick and stuff. It's not really my thing. But I think if it's sort of either if it's real, if it's honest, if it's emotional, and if it's funny, it's right up my street.
That's awesome. Oh, okay. Well, also I was gonna say that was Jane doing that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially with her, I mean, just in general, she could do anything.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, with that combined with, like you said, your heartfelt tone, I think that would just be amazing combination. Okay, we have questions about Leslie's house in particular, yes. And because we just reviewed that, and then we'll get into some other like nerdy things. But okay, we were wondering, number one, where was the inside of Leslie's house? Because we know where the outside was, but I didn't know where you shot that.
Yeah, they're the same, the inside and outside of that. And wait, no, am I right? I might be wrong. Okay, so I do remember.
It's possible.
I remember we shot it. I think we were either in Pasadena or in Eagle Rock, in a beautiful Craftsman, a really, really lovely house. I have a distinct memory of just sitting on the curb. Do you call it curb in America? Probably. Yeah, right? Sitting on the curb with Andy or with Chris Pratt. Eating something that he had asked the runner to get me, which was chicken and waffles from Roscoe's.
Yes.
Which Chris at the time was like, Chris at the time was kind of slightly porky, as you know. Yeah. I don't think he would mind me saying that.
No, he liked it.
He was like, I've got to do this, but I was a stripper once. And I was like, what? And he was like, no, for real. I was a stripper in Washington, wherever he's from. And I was like, wow, okay.
What?
And he said, but you have to try. Wait, should I never said that?
No, you can say that. I don't care. I find it hard to believe.
Thank you.
Because he like quotes that he's like a Christian guy now. Which who's to say? You could be Christian and not be, and be a stripper too.
This is just my memory. But anyway, this is what I believe happened.
Whatever. He wouldn't care. No,
exactly. I'm sitting on the curb of Leslie
He's not listening to this if it makes
discussing this with Chris Pratt, eating Roscoe's chicken and waffles. All of that bit's correct for sure. Which, by the way, I thought was disgusting because I'm English and we're not used to like savory and sweet stuff together.
Yeah, so fried and bread. Yeah.
You're probably like, wait, English people judging American food? But I was
no, not at all. I understand.
And so I do remember the house very well, the inside of it. And I can't remember. I'm just trying to think if we did shoot. I guess we didn't shoot any exterior there. Because
you got one shot on the outside. We do see the house from the outside, and I didn't say this in our last episode, but they switched the numbers on the house so that you don't know exactly what the address is or whatever.
Okay.
but you don't really see her go inside of the house. Like you see a tiny bit of Anne, knocking on the door or whatever, but you don't quite see where it is. So
that makes sense. So I think that was all in Eagle Rock or in Pasadena, whichever one it was, or Glendale maybe. But that whole
it was Altadena where that house was.
That makes total sense. So that's just up from Pasadena, and it was super pretty house. I remember loving it. I love the fact it had that kind of sitting room connected to the dining room. And then it had a very small kitchen, but it worked fine. And I think we were in that house for, I want to say 3 days, probably.
Wow. Did someone live in it? Do you know?
Yes, someone lived in it, definitely. And
oh, wow. And then you guys like put them up somewhere?
Yeah. We put them up in a hotel for probably a couple of weeks. And then we obviously, the other woman moved in, filled it up with all of Leslie's junk. And then we had to take all the junk out again and created the dinner party. And I was watching it last night and I was like, God, that's funny. Look how big that table is and how many people are around it and how small the room is. And actually, maybe that's kind of a blessing. I mean, that was, Leslie wouldn't have had the biggest house in the world. And I'm sure we did it because, I don't know, maybe they added more actors. I do remember that was the first time I ever worked with Blake Lee, and he was so lovely. He and I got on fantastically. And I went on to actually direct a show with him called Mixology. That was on
I've heard of that.
ABC. And he is just the most wonderful, kind, loving, fantastic guy. And he, I think, I don't know if he got the role because he was friends with Aubrey or if Aubrey just suggested him. I would suspect it was the latter because I feel like, the show was so big and so popular, but he was definitely really good friends with Aubrey. But he and I had such a fun time working on the show. Plus, of course, in Leslie's house, there are so many guest stars because of all these people turning up. Like that accountant guy is hilarious, and the cook and the woman who helps her clean, and it's crazy.
Yes, and most of them, are so friendly because I do the same thing kind of where I reach out to them and I ask if they either want to send me like voice messages or send me like an email about their time on the show, and they're always so happy to talk about it if they can remember. It's very, obviously it was so long ago so a lot of people are like, I don't remember what that audition was.
It was a long time ago. I wonder if any of those guest stars, you probably know better than me, have any of the guest stars gone on to become big stars or no?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know off the top of my head if guest stars have, but I know that they work regularly. I'll say that. They work all of the time and they're always in everything.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that are in like Curb Your Enthusiasm and Monk. Those like are the top two that people are still in to this day.
That's where the Venn diagram of successful actors goes, right?
Yes.
So you've been in Monk, you've been in Curb, you've been in Parks and Rec.
Exactly.
Right in the middle is the most popular actors in America.
Yeah, and I guess technically you could say that Retta and Jerry were guest stars, and so was Chris Pratt, and now they are big stars. So
Chris Pratt ain't doing too badly.
No,
yeah, he'll be all right. The kid will be okay.
He's so lovely. I adored him. Working with him was such a joy. He was so friendly. They were all friendly, but like Chris, I definitely did not know that he was going to go on to become one of the biggest action stars in the Marvel universe. I'm like, okay.
Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it?
I know. Well, I love the way they explain it when he comes back from, I guess he was filming Gardens of the Galaxy, right? And he's like, yeah, man, I just stopped drinking beer. It's like, that's it.
Because he got all
got a six-pack now.
Wait,
How much beer were you drinking?
Just not drinking beer. Sorry, my dog is going out. He wants to go for a run.
Aw, cute.
But yeah, no, they were great. I loved, I'm trying to think what else I can tell you about.
Well, we were going to ask, how did you find all those things in Leslie's house? Because it really just looks like you went through the prop department and just like scooped everything into like a grocery cart.
That sounds very likely. So I think the production designer likely would have come up with the thoughts for what they could be. I don't have the script for that one for some reason. I don't know why, or I couldn't find it. I might have it.
For Leslie's house, you mean?
Yeah, I couldn't find it, but I would think that maybe I'm going to guess that the bird boxes were scripted, and then everything else was just like stuff, and maybe the newspapers, but the rest was probably just stuff that we came up with, and we were like. But I do remember saying to the production designer, this really, we need to look at real like the Hoarder shows, and it needs to feel like a full-on Hoarder, otherwise.
Yes. Well, I was explaining a lot of the things that were cut, and some of them were like there were sculpture heads and grapes like fake grapes and Skittles that had been there for 100 years. And it's really funny because one of the things that got cut, which was so short, and I don't mind that it got cut, but was where Leslie like moves this like fake bowl of fruit and then puts the DNA like thing, DNA model like in place of it, saying like, this fits better here, right? And you're like, there's no need for either of those things.
That's interesting. Wait, when you say it got cut, do you mean it got cut from the script, or it got cut from the director's cut, or it got
from
cut
the director's cut?
Oh, so you saw the director's cut of that?
I've seen deleted scenes. I have the DVDs.
Wow, I haven't seen that.
Oh my god! Maybe I should just sit here with my phone and record all of them.
Yeah. Oh my god! I need to.
I'm sure you can find them on YouTube, but yeah, I bought all of the DVDs so that I could see every single part of what was deleted and what wasn't. And speaking of which, of guest stars and what was cut, there was this one gal named Jennifer Hasty who played the caricaturist, and you guys had a whole scene with her showing a caricature of Justin and Leslie, and it was like in the conference room, the ethics hearing or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And she had like a whole thing where she was like, yeah, I was told to come to the house, blah, blah, blah. And she was really sweet and sent me some voice messages as well. But you directed her, I'm assuming, obviously. And that got cut. That was going to be in there, which I really loved. And I always, Madi knows this, and the guests or the like listeners know this too. But every time an actor is cut, I'm always like, I am recording that cut scene. I am playing it so everyone can hear it because they spent time and energy on that scene.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think that's great. And also, especially with a show like Parks and Rec, that's a network show, it's so hard to, fit in that 21 minutes. And as a guest star, to end up bearing in mind, you have to, whatever it is, 8 of the funniest characters on TV. It's very difficult, so if it's a funny improv from a guest star versus a funny improv from Amy or Chris or whoever, it's, it's tricky, but I really like the fact that they did let them shine, and so it's interesting you say that. I'd love to see the deleted scenes. I'm going to check it out. I'll see what happens.
Well, and I mean, they do a really great job of bringing people back. Like a lot of people, I feel that maybe had smaller scenes got asked to come back to build this world of Pawnee. So we see a lot of guest stars come back, which is really nice.
And actually, you said you can probably ask me. I don't know if you want to ask me this question or if you want me to have thought of it. I think
I want you to think of it.
Or somebody said to me the thing about Softcastle. Was it like?
Yes, I was going to ask if you knew that. There was a namesake character for you. There's an Alexa Softcastle.
So was she? What episode is Alexa Softcastle?
That was Christmas Scandal.
So was that episode 5?
No, that was in season 2.
Yeah, I was thinking season 2. I'm assuming, but I'm wondering what episode it was.
Oh. It could have been season 5 of episode 2. I actually don't know.
Episode 5 of season 2.
I'm looking it up. See, it's episode 12. I knew it had to be higher because it's the middle of the season.
Got it.
Because it's the Christmas episode. So it's season 2, episode 12.
I got you. But yeah, they must have, I don't know. At that stage, they were probably like.
That was after practice date, though, which, and I don't know who wrote that one. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It was written by a great writer called Harris Whittles, who
okay, that's right.
Fan of, who very sadly is no longer with us. But
yes, pour one out.
I loved Harrison. He was incredibly talented. He was one of the younger writers on the show and was just such a wonderful.
He's phenomenal. He had such a hand in the backbone of Parks, I feel.
100%.
He was writing and story editing and everything. But no, I messaged Gillian on to do Christmas Scandal, and she was like, I don't know if you know this, but my character name was actually paying homage to Alex Hardcastle. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And you learn that, with The Office, they do that, especially Daryl Philbin is Daryl Philbin because of JJ Philbin, all that stuff. So I think that's really cool. I love that.
That's funny. Mm-hmm. It's good to hear. I'm happy that to some extent my name has influenced something.
Your reign lives on.
That makes me very happy, especially in such a wonderful show. I can't think of a better show to be remembered,
that's
or
so
named
cool.
after.
Do you remember who had all the ideas for all the places that Justin goes? I know Dan Gore wrote it, but I'm wondering if you remember any of those things coming up on the day, or if you talked about it at all, because they're so specific.
I actually don't know. I suspect Dan probably wrote them as my guess, or Dan and Greg. I don't remember us improving that much with Justin. Not because I don't know why. I can't remember. I think part of it was that he was quite a reserved character in the show. Mm-hmm. And I do remember really, really liking working with Justin. Like he was so smart and so interesting. And I think I didn't really, am I right in saying that his dad is Paul Theroux, the author?
I think that you're right.
So I think that's right.
I think that you're right. I think I heard that. He's
so academic and is so bright and is so, I don't know, it's just, he was such a nice guy. I really, really love working with him. And, sometimes you get...
I don't think he's related to that dude.
Oh, he's not?
I don't think he's related
to Paul. His dad's
Paul.
Eugene.
But wait.
You said Paul, right?
Yeah, Paul Theroux. I think it's Paul. Is it? Hold on.
His dad is Eugene Theroux, it looks like, and he was a lawyer. So...
But isn't there... What was the...
There is a Paul Theroux who's a novelist and travel writer, but it doesn't look like there. Oh, that's his uncle.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
So they are related.
Yeah, so he's from a somewhat of a very erudite family.
I don't think smart.
Yeah, I'd forgotten how many times they talk about all the places that he's been in.
Oh my gosh! I mean, that's why our last episode was so long. We were literally deep diving like India and camel stomach and.
Oh my god! Yeah, that was so funny. I forgot all that. Oh, that was funny as well. Seeing that restaurant, forgotten all about that. And that restaurant's in Studio City. And at the beginning where he's on the date with Leslie and the thing about camel stomach and all that.
Yeah.
That was I think I want to say it was an Indian restaurant anyway, but that was a really fun. I remember really enjoying doing that scene and really laughing at how great they were. But yeah, I do remember that location.
That looks like such a cool place.
Yeah, it was great. It was a really cool place, and it looked really pretty. It was one of those where you don't really need to do anything; it just looked great.
Yeah, it had all the setup. Do you remember if you were filming in the rec center? Remember when she's like telling the teachers that she has to cut their classes? Like, was that inside? Because I know where the outside was, which was also in Studio City.
Yeah, I think the inside was there. I'm pretty sure it was. And if it wasn't,
it looks like a real gym, but
yeah, I think it was. I'd be surprised if we shot in two different places. I think it was almost certainly. Was that Beeman? Is that Beeman Park?
Yes, exactly. So,
yeah, which is ironically, we go to Beeman Park very often, like almost every other day with my little godchildren because all they want to do is play on the swings there. It's interesting you say that because I saw it on screen yesterday. And I was like, damn, that looks like where I take the kids every day or every other day, and sure enough, it was. Little did I know then. 10 years ago.
Full circle moment.
Yeah, wait, how long ago was it? Do you remember? Like,
it was in 2010. So for season 2, 2010. So 12 years ago. Well, I guess 11.
I know, that's a lot though. That's like no wonder I can't remember stuff. Right?
I know. Right? Well, when you watch it, you're like, there's no way that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know
also,
what I mean?
Like, think about how little the cast have aged. Like, I feel like they all look almost exactly the same, right?
Oh my God. Also, can we talk about how, speaking of aging, how Paul Rudd is People Magazine's sexiest man alive?
Yes.
He's dreamy. What can I say?
So dreamy. What a guy that guy is.
How old is Paul Rudd in reality?
52.
He's 52?
Yeah.
Oh my.
This is a question at trivia last night, and it's the only question I knew because
that is amazing.
That's insane. Oh my God. I cannot wait to get to his parts of the show.
Oh my God.
He's so funny in this show because he plays such an airhead.
Yeah.
He's so good at it.
So brilliant. That's really interesting. So obviously none of this will probably come to fruition, but the next movie that I'm doing, which is also a Paramount movie, and it has a male lead villain who's quite a big character. And I really want Paul Rudd to come and do it because I've never seen him play. I know, I've never seen him play a really evil. It's in a comedy, so it's not like he's,
but he would be dope as it. He could do anything. Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. I think he's amazing. I just think he's so, anyway, whatever. Now he's one sexiest man alive. We'll never get him.
No, we'll get him. We'll get him. But I was going to ask too, do you remember any like bloopers or like funny moments that like you had to cut for, or are they all pretty much professionals where they were like, if we laugh, it'll be part of the scene?
Oh, I mean, for real, I'm imagining that there were thousands of bloopers, and if it's not them laughing, it was probably me. So I don't remember anything from like anything that was cut. I don't remember because it was too long ago. Do they do a gag reel or not for the season?
They do, but it's not as much as The Office. The Office has ones that I could go and watch on YouTube for like days, but Parks doesn't have as many. And most of them, if I'm being honest, which I don't mind, but most of them are Chris Pratt and his improv lines.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. I've never even thought about that or even watched that, but I do know that there was plenty of laughter, and we definitely screwed up many takes through laughing way too much.
That's amazing.
Which is great, and you would expect no less from those guys.
Yeah. Well, and then like, I mean, speaking of working with them, like, do you when you want to give them direction, is there a certain way that you like to approach actors, or is there a way that you approach certain people individualistically, if that makes sense? Or like, what's your kind of style when you're telling them, hey, maybe try that?
So I think it really depends on the actor. And I think that most, as I said earlier, I feel like in general, in my experience, the bigger the actor, the easier they are to work with. And so...
Which is interesting. You wouldn't think that, I feel.
Not at all. I mean, like Jane Fonda, the very first thing that I was told obviously I was intimidated, I was told I was going to work with Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, she's won 2 Oscars and Lily's been a comedy legend for 50 years. And, the very first note I was given by Marta, who created Grace and Frankie and Friends, was Jane loves being given direction. Like, go to her after every take and tell her what you like, what you didn't like, explain, whatever. And I was like, really? You want me to give Jane Fonda notes about her acting? Okay. And I very quickly learned that she does. Like, what she does not like is when you just go, let's do it again. And she's like, well,
yeah, because she's like, well, I'm going to do it the same way.
Yeah. She's like, unless you tell me why, I will do it the same way. Exactly. So I learned very quickly how much she loved it. So I'm trying to think, but specifically remembering Parks and Rec, with some of them, I built up an immediate kind of rapport that made it super easy. So with Chris Pratt, people like that, I remember just being like, hey, do it again, but do it like this. Or with Aubrey was super easy to work with. And, a lot of them are really easy. With some of them, I would take, with some of them, you would take a bit more time and just not say it on camera. You would cut and then chat with them about, hey, maybe we could try this a little differently or do this differently or whatever it was. But there was nobody in that cast, honestly, hand on heart, there was nobody in that cast who was not absolutely fantastic.
Like open to it, yeah.
Completely. I'm trying to remember the last time I struggled. Oh, yeah, I can remember. I ain't going to say that. I ain't going to tell you who it was, but I have struggled with some actors not wanting direction. But it's very rare. Very, very,
okay.
very rare.
And do you get a chance to kind of like sit with, I mean, I'm guessing in that third week, I'm kind of asking random questions now that are popping up in my head, so I'm sorry if it's like random. But when you're talking about the director's cut, you're sitting with the editor first to kind of like go through what you want, and then you hand that in, and then you don't really get to see what the other editors decided to get to take out, or what the network, I guess.
Yeah, so the process goes that when we start filming, the same day we start filming, the editor will start assembling what you're filming. Well, I guess it'll be the next day. We'll start cutting stuff together. So by the end of the week, your week of filming, the editor is at least 4 of the 5 days he's cut already. He'll then spend a couple more days getting it ready, and he'll send you what is called the editor's assembly. Okay. So you watch that, and usually at that stage you're like, okay, well, I've destroyed the franchise, I've ruined my career, and no one is funny in this thing, and I'm a disaster, and I should not do this. and then you think about it some more, and you look at the scripts, and you remember what made you laugh on the day, and then you go back in with the editor, and you work on it, and you hone it, and you hone it, and after a week, you basically just you hand it over, and you go, here's what I think is the funniest and best version of this story. And then it goes to the producers. The producers do their work on it, hand it over to the network gives them some notes, and it ends up on the air. So
do you remember who your editor was, or who you were sitting in the booth with? Like, was it Dean?
Let me look. Dean rings a bell. Hold on, let me see.
Well,
I'm going to have to look on IMDb.
The Office more so. Oh, that's right. I should. Yeah.
I don't remember who. Hold on, let me see. Parks and Recreation. Sorry.
No, please. I should have already known, but I don't know. Could I Can you see per episode who edits it, or is it pretty much
that's the same editors? Maybe not, actually. Maybe not.
Because I think that there are different editors for the whole series, but I don't know if you can see it per episode, or maybe you can.
No, that's a good point. Maybe I don't think you can. Hold on, I'm just trying to see. No, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm just going to see if there's any.
I would say it was Dean if there was more jump cuts, which in Leslie's house there were some.
Yeah, there were.
But...
Yeah, there were quite a few. I don't know.
Okay. Well, are jump cuts written into the script or
No.
is okay?
I don't think so, or certainly not in.
It wouldn't make sense for him to be, but who's to say? Like if they created some sort of montage or something.
But I think,
you know?
I think they know. Like when it comes to a talking head, I think they know that they're going to be jump cut and jump cut.
Jump cat.
Wow, my English is amazing.
Same, it's fine.
And so, you know, and especially with those things, as I was saying earlier with Leslie, you just set them up and you just roll at it, have at it. And, you know, we'd do 20, 25-minute takes and just really have fun with it. Rick Hoffman is another one who just could come up with these insanely funny things off the top of his head, and just, you know, doing any of his talking heads was a real highlight.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh my gosh.
Such a legend.
How are you getting, okay, is it like acting in the sense where like after you're done with one job, you kind of just hope for the next one? Or do you like pitch yourself as a director? Like how do you get your next gigs?
So you don't really pitch yourself. I think that's really your agent and managers who do that.
Sure.
In general, I mean, I think I've been very fortunate in that I feel like I usually am booked up for, you know, quite a while ahead. So I don't really sit around and wait, with the exception of COVID. I don't really sit around and wait for jobs to come along. But with the downside to getting booked in advance is that there are some shows, including Veep, that I got asked to do 3 times. But they would hang up and be like, "Can you do Veep in 3 weeks' time?" And I'm like, "No, I mean, I'm literally booked till next May." It's like I can't, and that's not. I don't know. I just think maybe it's. I don't know. I would say. Yeah. I have one more tip for potential directors, if they want to be directors, for how to succeed in the industry. And that is to be polite, to be punctual, and to be professional at all times. Yeah. And that is more important than being skilled or being funny or being interesting or any of those things. But always be on time, always be polite, and always be prepared, you know, be professional and prepared.
All the P's.
All the P's. Just
3 P's.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of P's, this is a great segue. I have great segue skills.
Weird.
I have always been interested in the names of producers. You've got executive producers, you've got consulting producer, you've got all of these things, and I
didn't know where you were going with the P's.
I know, she thought I was
so
going to talk about
we
urinating.
Ended up producer.
The audience was waiting in suspense. But I want to know what the difference between all of those things are. Consulting producer almost sounds more of like a kind of like, I don't know, courtesy, if you will. But I feel like there's probably some type of job to it. But what are producers?
You know what? That is a great question. I know that EPs are, I mean, it's so weird. Like the way that producers break down in America is so different from the UK. But, you know, there's producers who are what I would call producing producers, the ones who actually help you make the project, get it on screen, make everything happen with locations and everything and money and the whole thing. That's what I consider a producer. But in America, your writers are also producers and EPs and co-EPs and all the other stuff. So then it becomes a little more confusing because then you have creative producers and non-creative producers. Not that the non-creative producers are any less creative than the creative ones, to be honest. But so it is very confusing. And in short, I don't know.
Okay.
I wish I could have more depth.
I'll have to get somebody on here.
Well, I think honestly, a lot of it is kind of negotiation. And I think it's just like, you know, they go, so the more senior the writer, the more likely they are to be an EP or a full producer. And then I bet those, I don't know, I haven't looked at the credits for Parks and Rec, but I would think that the more junior writers were co-producers or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Amy and Mike Schur and Greg Daniels were producers from the beginning. Yeah. So I would understand that they're like the executive ones that kind of have the final say, and they're kind of putting a lot of their energies and thoughts and creative decisions into it. Yeah. But then there's a ton of on IMDb saying consulting producer. So I'm wondering if that's just someone who comes up and is like, well, maybe if you did that instead of this kind of thing, like again, consulting.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's just a good question.
So I'm going to find somebody and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I didn't know the answer. That's just definitely a shortcoming. I apologize.
No, I mean, I asked a producer question to a director, so I just wasn't sure if you perhaps knew. So.
No, I stay to my very narrow lane.
Good. I mean, look,
They're like,
You've
we
done
don't need
well.
any more producers on this project. Just direct Hardcastle and then go home.
I know 30 Rock actually has a joke about that where like Lorne Michaels' name comes up first, and it's very meta where it's like, that's just like for ego, right?
That's funny. I can't comment on that, but yes.
Yeah, no comment.
Yeah, no comment.
And then, okay, so back to the locations of this. Do you get a say in where things are filmed? Like, do you get that, or is it the Mercedes doing
Yeah,
it?
so no, that's absolutely the director. So the director will go out on a scout with usually with the art director and the location manager and the AD. And you'll look at, I don't know, say for Leslie's house, we probably saw 5 or 6 houses. And then we'll just discuss whether logistically it's good, creatively it's good, whatever else, whether it fits the script. And then we'll go back and we'll say to Greg or Mike or whoever, this is the house we picked. This is why we think this is the one. Are you happy for us to use that house? And then they'll say yay or nay.
Who finds those 6 houses? You said
the location manager. So
I want to be a location manager.
Whatever you want.
You'd be good at that.
I said I want to be a location manager. That would be really stressful but fun.
It sounds fun until you actually are looking after the street that the film crew is filming it. And all the neighbors come up to you and start yelling at you, and they're like, and we're still filming at midnight and everyone wants to go to sleep. And so then I feel like it's sometimes a fun job and sometimes not fun at all.
Yeah, the paperwork / like corralling everyone doesn't sound
I think
great.
corralling, dealing with the neighborhood probably not easy. But so we definitely found all the locations in any of the episodes that I did, we would have found. I don't think we were given anything with the exception, obviously, of the permanent standing sets and, so Leslie's house, Anne's house, and the office.
So it was you guys who had the idea for her house being in Altadena or Pasadena or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Did
That's
they go
awesome.
back to that house then in later seasons?
We talked about that, and they really don't. They mostly go to Anne's house and April and Andy's.
Yeah.
And then when Ben and Leslie share a house, we go a couple times.
We say that nice big house.
And it was the same house?
I don't know. It's not the same house. It's a different one. It's one that Ben and Leslie share.
Oh, that's right. I remember that house. Yeah, I remember that. That's definitely not the same. Yeah. So we never went back there. Oh.
Yeah. Sad,
I remember
I know.
it fondly.
I do too. Oh my gosh. Well, Maddie, I know you had some like nerdy stuff that you wanted to ask as well, so I'm happy to.
I literally just had a question in my brain and it left.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
That's okay.
But I have one from like the very beginning of our conversation when you said that you went to school for architecture and history.
Yes.
Do you use that ever when you're scouting location or when you're planning film? Like, do you feel like you use it, or you're like, why did I go to school for that?
No, I think that's a legitimate, legit question. And I definitely think they're connected. And I don't always know how. Like, I think there must be something about an appreciation of structure, maybe, that kind of ties in between architecture and film. There is definitely something in me that connects the two. So I definitely think you're onto something. It's not immediately obvious, if that, you know what I mean. It's like, I'm actually really happy that I did not study film and TV or media at university, just because I feel like my whole life has been it now. And I'm like, I don't know. So I'm happy that I studied something different. And when I go on holiday to, Europe or wherever, I'm happy that I do know something about the buildings and about the history of architecture. And I do understand a little bit about the history of Europe and whatever, rather than just knowing even more about film and TV and why Falcon Crest was more successful than Dynasty or whatever it is. I don't. But I will say that actually thinking a little more sort of thinking about TV in general and about why I ended up here. When I was a kid, I remember watching American TV, and American TV was the absolute gold standard for us. And I feel like the first shows we ever watched, and I know that they're kind of joke shows, but for us, they were kind of not joke shows, was like Baywatch and Knight Rider. And I just remember thinking everything about America looked so cool. I was like, the greatest country on earth, clearly. England sucks. America's the best.
Obviously.
And so it started off like that. And then
I feel like we as kids said that too. Sometimes I looked at shows and I was like, where is this?
Why don't we live there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. We're looking at California, right? For the most
part. Of course.
And,
but I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So I think that somewhere deep down in that psyche as well, growing up watching those and then getting more into the American stuff. And then I remember being obsessed with Friends and with Frasier when I was at university and just thinking that they were the best shows ever.
Friends is actually my favorite show.
Oh, it's so good.
I can quote it. And that must have been amazing for you to have worked with Marta then.
Yeah, Marta's
the queen
great.
herself.
The only mistake I've ever made with Marta, I think, she and I get on so well, and I adore her. She's just a dream to work with. But I do remember her saying, "What's your favorite?" Well, just one day, and I was in my defense, I was directing, and I was thinking about a lot of things. And I was stressed.
Too much going on.
Yeah, she said to me, what do you think is the best comedy ever on American television? And I think she expected me to say something like I Love Lucy, or I don't know what it was. And I said Frasier. And she was like, oh. And I didn't know.
At least you didn't say Seinfeld, I guess.
I guess, yeah. I could have said anything except Frasier, because Frasier and Friends, I didn't know this, had a huge rivalry. And Frasier won all of the awards, and Friends won almost nothing. And even though Friends was more popular, ultimately, I think they always, I hope I'm not like being indiscreet, but I think they always felt like Frasier got all the awards and Friends got, all the viewers. And it was, I think they sort of felt like the inferior show in a weird way. Even though, history's been kind to both of them. I could rewatch any of those shows any day and totally love them.
I would have thought it would have been more like Seinfeld and Friends, more like rivals, but I guess they were just more of the same bread, I feel.
Well, I don't know. Was Seinfeld on it? Well, Seinfeld was on at the same time as Friends, but so was Frasier, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
I mean, Friends was on for 10 seasons, right?
Yeah, 10 seasons.
And Frasier was on for what?
I couldn't tell you. I honestly
but probably close to the same.
I'm sure.
Oh my God, by the way, it's a fun piece of trivia. You might like this, and I didn't remember this. In Grace and Frankie, I don't know if you ever watched it, but anyway, there's Jane's assistant. Is it Jane's assistant or Lily's assistant? Anyway, whoever it is a wonderful, she's called Joan Margaret in the show. It's a wonderful actress called Millicent Martin, who is, I think, I'm right in saying, and forgive me, I should never say a lady's age, but is definitely older than Jane and Lily by quite a lot. And she was Daphne's mum in Frasier. And I didn't realize it for the longest
Daphne's
time.
mom in Frasier. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and she is so funny in Frasier and such a legend. And she's still the most wonderful, brilliant, fantastic. I love her. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
in case anybody knows and loves Millicent Martin as much as I do.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well now I'll have to keep my eye out for her more so.
She's a legend.
That's so incredible.
Wow.
Well, would you say that there was like a hard pivot for you after you graduated, or after you realized that architecture/history wasn't your thing, or that you wanted to do film? Like, because we've talked to quite a few people, especially in this industry, where they're like, I either don't want to do this or I do want to do this. So let me like move out of what I was doing. You know what I mean?
So I think for me, I had figured out before I finished my degree that I did not want to be an architect. And I also think I probably would have been a terrible architect. So I knew as soon as I left university, I started applying for jobs in the entertainment industry. And the very first job that I got was researching a documentary about James Bond. And it was during the making of the movie GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan. And so I got to research all of the James Bond films, read all of the James Bond books, meet all of the James Bond actors and all of the guest stars and everything, and interview them. And I was like, well, this is clearly the greatest job in the world. I mean, I'm on set of a James Bond film, watching him drive Pierce Brosnan drive tanks through walls at Leeds in the studio. And I was like, this is amazing. I have to do this for the rest of my life. So it was definitely, my first job, although, a researcher is not the most, not the highest on the totem pole. It was a dream, an absolute dream for me. And to this day, I credit that with keeping me, the thing that sort of propelled me into knowing that this was going to be the lifetime,
a bit of a spark
career. Yeah.
How does a director get an agent? For the directors, if there's any potential directors out there, or, for my purely just interest, how did you get yours?
I have no idea.
Was it before or after you made your short film? Like, were you already making stuff?
It must have been after I made my short film, and I doubt it was as a result of my short film. So I suspect that it must have been after I got my first TV show, I think, and I guess that's what happened. And it's a great question.
Did you get your TV show on your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did. But I'd worked with the star of it for a long time, producing his stuff. And then I think what happened was we did the pilot with another director. And then that director fell out for some reason. I can't remember why. He had other commitments or something happened. He was called Simon Delaney. He was a lovely guy. And he pulled out or couldn't do it. And I remember saying, I remember saying to Jack D, who was the star of it, I think I could do this. I think I'd be really good at it. Will you let me do it? And I think after much discussions and many people saying this is a mistake, they did let me. And so I think
cool.
from there, I think that's how I got an agent. But I genuinely, honestly don't really remember that being
wild
a moment. I do, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, when you do these shows with like people that you know, obviously, I'm sure there are shows that you didn't really know a ton of people, but I'm also wondering, like, the reason I say that is because I'm wondering if you knew any of the writers of any of the shows that you directed. Like, did you know Dan before at all, or like anyone else? Like, does that make a difference if you know the writing or the tone of who is, putting
definitely, yeah. I mean,
words on the page?
Yeah, I definitely think it's easier going back for a second, third, fourth, fifth, however many time on a show, because as you say, you do know the writers. Sometimes I do know some of the actors, and that's just from having worked for a long time here. So I've been lucky enough to work, on multiple different shows with Will Arnett or whoever it is. And
yeah.
So that makes things a lot easier because you know how they work and you can interact very quickly with them. And so, I mean, I'm trying to think who else, but knowing I didn't know Dan before, I don't think, but I immediately liked Dan a lot. He's great and so fun and easygoing, so smart. And I'm trying to.
Did you ever direct any Brooklyn Nine-Nines?
I didn't. They did talk to me about it, but I didn't. I think it might have been the same. I don't know why. I like Brooklyn Nine-Nine a lot. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it's great.
I didn't do any. I would have done. I don't know. Maybe it conflicted with something else that I was doing, or I can't remember. But it was definitely a very busy. Yeah, it's been busy since I arrived in America. Actually,
I'm sure.
It's nonstop, which is great.
Yeah. I was just wondering if that makes a difference, like if who writes it.
Yeah, it does make a difference.
There's a real world in my head where like maybe it doesn't matter so much,
No, it does make a difference because the writer's with you all the time on set, by and large.
That's true.
So if you share a common goal or a mutual respect, that makes things a lot quicker and easier. If you don't agree with the writer, I think that can be tricky, and I have had that happen before. And I also have had writers who I think want to be directors, and probably they feel like directors who want to be writers are the most annoying in the world. I would not say I'm a director who wants to be a writer. I don't think I'm a strong writer, and I pitch jokes a lot, but I wouldn't, I'm not into pitching storylines and stuff like that. I would never do that. So
interesting. Okay.
So yeah, I think that your connection with the writer is very important on a day-to-day basis. And I also, I do feel like you do have a responsibility towards them and the whole crew to make sure that the show, they're only going to film the show once. You know what I mean? It's like and you're getting given the script of, say you get practice day. You're like, okay, here's this script. No one is ever going to redo this. It's like, well, it's unlikely. And so I find that you have a responsibility to deliver the absolute best possible version that you can within you and with the sort of confines of whatever it is, finance or time or the actors or whatever it is, to make sure it's the best possible version of it, because you really do get one shot. You get multiple takes, but you get one shot to deliver the best, the best version of it.
Yeah. Well, I guess that kind of leads me to my question of like, was there something that you connect them of this? I guess it sounds vague if I say it out loud, but is there something that you connect the most with directing? Like, is there a reason why it drives you or it fuels you so much?
When you say something, you don't mean subject matter. You mean like, is there a reason why directing appeals?
Yeah. Like, what do you? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like, why do you
question.
do this kind of?
I got you. Yeah. So I think that for me, the appeal of directing is, to be honest, it's to be part of a team. And I think that it's very much, for me, the thing that I love about it is that kind of feeling of putting on a show, of, everybody pulling together as a team to create and elevate and do something, sort of in a group experience, and try and deliver something that will make hopefully millions of people laugh or let them relate to it or cry or whatever else it is. So for me, the director is not really the top of anything. It's very much more about sort of juggling the balls and trying to keep everybody kind of happy and feeling like you're progressing and that you are achieving something and that your day is going well. And I don't know, just trying to bring out the best in every department. So that's why I sort of feel like it's my responsibility to, even though I don't have a view really on hair and makeup, or, you know, rarely I have a view on wardrobe and things like that. They're not things that the things that I really, really focus on. Whereas location and production design are things that I care a lot about, and casting and script. But I always listen to, you know, I always try and surround myself with people who are better than I am. And so,
yeah, I mean, that's what they say that, you know, the most skilled people do, so they can learn from them.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, you know, I would never claim to know better than any of these people about any, you know, the props master is always going to know more than me about props. So, or whoever it is. So I always try and bring out the best in those people, and hopefully they would say that. I hope I have a,
yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Right. Have you talked to anybody who said that I was a horrible director?
Not yet. No.
I want you to, if you do find that, let me know, and I'll go on and do a head-to-head with them, because I think that I want to go down in Hollywood as being the nicest director there is.
Oh, okay, it's starting here.
Yeah, this is what I'm aiming for. I don't want to. Nobody needs to say I'm talented. I just want people to say he's the nicest director you'll ever work.
Well, we're getting that right now, so
yes.
Okay,
well,
I'll let everyone else
kind.
know. Everyone else that we've interviewed or like heard from on Leslie's house or practice date hasn't said anything terrible at all. So I think we're good.
Anything terrible? But they've said mildly bad? No, tell me, for real. I want to know.
Oh, I'm being honest. They haven't really said anything about it, like about the director. But I think that's also because I wasn't really asking for that, like pointedly. I was asking about Amy Poehler, and I'm so sorry.
That's so fun.
We will now.
What do they say? It's better to be talked about than not to be talked about at all. Oh no. They didn't even
I don't believe that. I don't like that.
I'm less than a side note in history. I don't even exist.
No, I shouldn't have said anything. Every person said you were the most amazing director they've ever worked with, and you were super nice and friendly.
This sounds correct. Everything you're saying sounds so correct to me. I'm like, yeah. That's what I tell myself every day.
Oh my God. Well, speaking of, you mentioned subject matter. Like, do you have a favorite subject matter, or is it or genre, I suppose, besides comedy, or is comedy kind of like your most fave?
Do you mean just to watch or to direct?
To direct.
Do I have a favorite subject?
I know you said dark comedy was like also like your main thing.
I think so.
Well,
I mean, I think if I'd stayed in the UK, my guess is that I would have ended up, I mean, if I got lucky enough, but doing something like Fleabag. Like, I feel like that kind of comedy, that kind of dark, edgier, slightly sicker comedy, or maybe if I got really lucky doing something like Killing Eve. Which is,
I need to watch the rest of that.
Looking, but very, it's funny. It's just very sick as well. So I think that's where I would have gone. And I think maybe, I don't know, there's something about directing comedy that's really fun. Like, it's not a huge surprise to find out that directing, really heavy scenes with people screaming and blood and whatever is not a fun experience for anyone, really. I don't think anyway. Or certainly not in my experience. Doing the Daniel Radcliffe thing, I would drive home at the end of the night. So I know this might sound somewhat pretentious, but I would feel kind of sick having spent the whole day watching Daniel sawing off, a kid's leg, even though it's fake and whatever else.
That doesn't sound pretentious at all. That sounds completely normal.
It sounds natural.
I mean, it's really gross. And it's like, I can't help but some element of that just stays in my brain. That's why I don't watch horror films and stuff like that, because I'm like, not because I think about the director or the crew or anything like that, but I just don't want to have that imagery in my head. I'm like, if I want to fall asleep and dream about any show I've done, it's Parks and Rec. It's like, that's the world I want to be in my dream. I want to be hanging out with Leslie and Andy. I don't want to be hanging out in, some dark world where people get their legs cut off. That's not weird, right? I think I make sense.
No, it absolutely.
Yes.
I'm not the biggest fan of the gore either, except for like in maybe like Lord of the Rings or something like this, like Game of Thrones. I'm like not mad about it. You know what I mean? But that's not really horror. That's more so fantasy, which I'm cool with.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree. That's not really horror. Although Game of Thrones, did have some edge for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was a crazy show.
What other, aside from Parks and Rec, what other shows have you done? You say that Friends is your favorite. So have you done a deep dive on Friends as well?
No, not yet. I mean, I say yet because we're gonna do all of the episodes of Parks. So, I'm not really sure. I don't know, man. I almost don't even want to touch Friends because it's so sacred to me. And I've learned so many things, like with the, just all the behind the scenes stuff that I like to learn. Plus, I just watched that HBO Max reunion situation, which was super great.
I didn't see that yet. I should watch that. I think I would enjoy that. I don't know why I didn't watch it yet, but I didn't.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I cried. I mean,
yeah, I will. I'm sure.
I mean, granted, I was drinking wine heavily because I was like, I can't, but it was so good.
Wouldn't you? I would. That's the way to do it.
Well, they do this scene, and it's not a spoiler or anything, but they do this like cut scenes of well, I guess it's not scenes, but it's like people from across the globe that sent themselves in like videos in saying like, friends saved my life at this point in time because I was really depressed and X, Y, and Z, and it's all over the world from different countries. And so that was like, oh my God, this is just like really showing how the beauty of art connects people, no matter what language you speak, no matter what religion you are. Like, comedy and music and art draws people together, and that's that.
100%. Yeah. 100%. That's really interesting. I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
Can I ask a favor for a second? Can I get a brief break just to do my emails? Because I've got an edit that's going to sound and color tonight.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost done here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
100%.
Maddie, what about you? Did you have?
I had one other question because this is what goes through my head. Because in the 4 years I was in school, I was part of a film scoring orchestra in school.
That's great.
And it was fascinating to me. Like, there were days I left the studio and I was like, I want to do this for real. And I just don't think I'm a good enough violinist to do that. But anyway, I was like, I wonder what that process is, like the film scoring aspect of it. Like, how much of your input as a director, this is more like film, but like, do you get to put in on the music, or do you just kind of step back and you're like, whatever you write, we're putting in there?
So I think that's a good question. Again, it definitely depends on whether it's a film, commercial, or TV. So I feel with TV, the director, we tend to just get given like a bin of stings and little bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. And then we're allowed to put in commercial tracks as well. And if they decide they want to pay for them, great. If they don't, they don't. So that's the majority of TV stuff, is like they've already picked the composer. You have all the kind of beds of previous episodes that they've had, and you just take stuff and you temp it in, and then down the line they'll score to picture. But we're not heavily involved with that. With commercials and film, we pick the composer before we even start filming, and they will be watching the dailies as they come in and thinking about stuff. So I'm actually going through this process right now for the movie that I've just done. And Jermaine, our composer, who did Coming to America 2 and various other things, keeps sort of coming to me with pitch ideas for, why don't we do a little bit of score here, or try this here, or do whatever. And so we are, that's a very heavily involved process, and it's a lot of meeting and listening to stuff, and it's fun. It's a bit like, maybe even going back to that question you asked earlier about what appeals about being a director. You have to be a little bit good at everything. So, or at least you have to be prepared to learn a little bit about everything. So with music, I'm reasonably musical, so I feel like I can have a good conversation with Jermaine, our composer. But for example, with makeup, I don't understand. I don't know a single thing about makeup. I mean, I know vaguely what mascara and lipstick is, and that's it. And blush, I guess. But when I'm talking to a makeup artist and I want somebody to, I cannot in any way articulate clearly the process that I want them to apply. The only thing I can say is, when I see this person on screen, I want to feel this way. So, that is an extremely long answer to your question about composing.
No, but it's great.
But I think that is a valid way, I think, of responding to anybody's question that ever comes up to you on a film set and says, how do you want something? The answer is, well, unless it's about food, the answer can be, this is what I want the viewer to feel at that point.
Got it.
However you want to interpret that is up to you.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's cool.
Yay. Okay, well, the very, very last question that I ask all of our guests is, out of all the characters in Parks and Rec, who would you say that you resonate the most with / feel like you are a version of this person, or maybe who you want to be?
What a great question.
For example, I resonate the most with Leslie, and Madi is an Anne. And we both have qualities of each of them. But that's who we resonate the most with. So if you had to pick, and it can be Alexa Softcastle, even though she only had one line.
That's great. I would love that. I think that I think that I want to be like No, I think that I want to be like Anne. I think I'm probably more like a cross between Leslie and Andy.
I love that.
I know. Awesome. I really am dumb sometimes. And
no.
I definitely am. And I think I have a good heart, but I'm occasionally misguided like Leslie. But I want to be like Anne, who is smart, kind, compassionate, and loving. And so that's the goal is Anne. The reality is somewhere between Leslie and Andy.
I love that answer. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Alex. Oh my God, we had the best time. Thank you for nerding out with us and being so wonderful. We really appreciate it.
Honestly, I'm thrilled to be here. I feel very, very honored. And the second my agent sent me the email and was like, "You interested?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Of course."
Oh my gosh, I had to have a shout out to your agent because is it a she or he? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
I think it either went to Josh or Matt. I'm not sure which one.
Okay. Well, I'll say they were so kind to me as well. They were like, "Yeah, I'm sure you'd love to do it. Let me just double check," kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, no, I loved it. Do you know what could be a good thought for you? I'm just going to throw it out there.
Yes,
so this is not on the podcast. I wonder if you could talk to, I don't know if it's in here, the camera lady who did, if she's still working in the industry,
yes,
who did Parks,
absolutely.
because she was honestly one of the best camera people I've ever worked with in my life. At the time, it was more unusual to work with a female, camera operator.
Of course.
To be honest. And she may even have been the very first female camera operator I ever worked with. But I remember her being just unbelievably brilliant.
I want to talk to camera people as well. They are such a backbone.
Oh my God, they're amazing. But particularly on this show, let me just see real quick if I can see.
I'm going to lose my mind.
Because I would recognize her name. Okay, this is cinema. Shauna, I think, is it Shauna?
Mulway Tweep? I'm just kidding.
Wait, does it have all the cameramen? It must do, right?
Yeah, they usually have the full crew on there. Is it maybe if you have time, you could look under your call list? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I probably have my unit list. In fact, I'm sure I have my unit list because I keep them for every show. I will have a look and see. Yeah, I'll let you know. I just suddenly thought about her, and I'm like, she was an exceptional talent, or is an exceptional talent, and I just think she could be a really fun person to talk to because. I think that perspective of a camera woman in what was, unfortunately, is not any longer a male-dominated world, and somebody with that much skill, who really is part, as much a part of the show as anyone, could be a really fun person to talk to.
Oh my gosh, I would love that, and I would also really like to talk to her about the strike that just happened. So I want to know everything.
They know. Things. Yeah, she'll know much more than me. All I did was empty my office as I was told to, and then came back the next Monday with all my stuff. I was like, okay. So that didn't happen.
No worries.
Well, listen, this has been
thank you.
So great. You guys are amazing. Please don't put anything that makes me seem terrible.
Never.
There's literally nothing in this. I love how thoughtful you were, but there's literally nothing in this episode that would be that way. But however, I will say I do send every guest the episode before I post it. So you can listen to it if you want to. But if not, I'll just take out whatever you had said to and, all
amazing.
that stuff.
I mean,
it'll be wonderful.
I don't remember saying
I could just play it from top to bottom and it would be fine. But
yeah.
Bless you.
But
Well,
thank you so much. This
sweet.
literally made our day and our whole week. And we just wish you the best of luck. We will post all of the links to like trailers or anything, especially for senior year. But the one that's going to color tonight, is that for senior year? Is that
That's senior
else?
year, yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yay. Well, have fun looking at those and finish your
Amazing.
emails.
Well,
And thank you so much, Alex.
No worries. It's a pleasure to talk to you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
You
Keep
too.
in
See you
touch.
soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God.
I almost texted you in the middle of that. I was like, I love him so much.
I can't. I am smitten.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, Holly, and we don't have to put this in the podcast, but I was feeling some major vibes.
I am smitten. I will put that in the podcast. Although he has kids and I don't know if he's married. But Alex, if your wife is listening or if you're listening, you don't have to take that for what that
It
is.
sounded like godchildren.
Oh.
He said godchildren.
Oh, Oh, okay.
And he's only 18 years older than you. I Googled it while we were talking because I was like, this is meant to be.
That is hilarious. Oh my God. Well, regardless, aside from all of that, he is so fun and so thoughtful and nice and kind, and
so
he wanted
sweet.
to answer all of our questions in such detail, and like the way that he was like making sure that he phrased everything correctly so that he didn't like offend or hurt anyone was really sweet and generous to me, I feel.
We have to name this episode The Nicest Director in All of Hollywood.
Yes, literally. I know. I have to put it in some kind of. I'll put it in our show notes, and I'll figure out a shorter way. We'll figure out a shorter way to like label it this way. Maybe that can be his like name. You know how I do Andy Forrest, aka Kyle. I could be like Alex Hardcastle, aka Nicest Director in Town.
Perfect. That's perfect.
So, but oh my gosh, that was so fun. We're so excited. And yeah, I'm glad that he brought up his agents and how he got in touch with us, or how I got in touch with him, because that I said that last episode where I messaged them and they were just so kind and like immediately forwarded it on. And so I'm glad that he gave us a recommendation. So hopefully that camera lady will and I have his email, so I'll follow up with him, like if he can find his set list or, not set list, oh my gosh, his cast list, call sheet thing, if it had her name on it, because I would love to talk to her.
That'd be great.
So,
I love it.
Anyways, so I don't think that I've mentioned this part, like as far as scheduling goes, but this will come out, should be on the 18th, and then the following week, so next week, by the time you're listening to this, will be Thanksgiving. So we're not going to have a podcast on that week.
Yeah.
Because that'll be Thanksgiving, and we need to be celebrating / hanging out / doing whatever you want to do. If you don't celebrate, totally fine, but you have a day off, hopefully, and that you can just rest and reflect.
Chill.
We may or may not post a repost of something, but probably not. I'll probably just leave it.
No, because I want Holly to be just with her family / friends and not worry about posting anything.
Yeah. I mean, I can always schedule it and not have to worry about it on that week, but whatever. I don't think that you can just go back and listen to whatever you want to listen to. But yeah, so I'm really glad that we got a chance to talk to him, and then hopefully, honestly, my next person that I would love to speak to is not only the camera lady, but who am I kidding? I want to talk to everybody, but I'm thinking about a producer. Like, I really want to know what their job is. I'm so interested. And honestly, the producers on this show are Amy Poehler and Mike Schur and Greg Daniels. So come on over. No, I'm sure there's more, but
let's go for it.
But anyway, so that's all I have left to say about that part. Do you have anything else to say?
I don't. I'm just really happy with how that went.
Me too. I am so grateful to Alex. Thank you to him and his team. Thank you, listener, for being here. If you haven't, like I always say, if you haven't rated or reviewed or downloaded, if you are just playing them and not downloading them, we would love your downloads as well. And yeah, that really helps us out and, to get us in the algorithm. And the next episode I believe that we will review is going to be Sweetums, which was written by Alan Yang. So that would be fun if I could chat with him, or if he would have a voice memo to send us. But if not, then we'll just speculate wildly, as I say.
Yes.
As I and Joan say. But anyway, yeah, so check out Senior Year. Check out all the other things that Alex is doing. But for now, we thank you, and we hope you have a very wonderful Thanksgiving. And we'll see you in December.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
There's a park and some pals, and there's also therapy too.